Walking with the beloved. That's the subject of these days. And what Georgi told yesterday as something to work on, which is really, really, really important, is relaxation. You know, when we look to the whole realm of inner growth, there is nothing to achieve. It's nothing to reach for. It's all about reconnecting to the depth with yourself. That's all what we have. We have this body, this mind, this heart, and this life. We are totally aware that there are a lot of schools who are based on if you wish for something or you concentrate on something, it will come to you. And we are not such a school. We really believe in the depth that this reaching out to gain something, if it's material, or if it's status, or if it's a partner, or whatever it is, to kind of move towards happiness, towards fulfillment, this doesn't work. We just gave a course in London, 1.5 day course about happiness. And one of the things we brought forward is that happiness is always there. It's a state of mind. And a state of mind is another word in my eyes for attitude. So much is connected with attitude. So walking with the beloved for sure is connected with walking your life as it is your body, your parents, your background, your mind. It is your life. We cannot change our lives. We can change our attitude towards our lives. We cannot change the world in a way that we can change our environment, that our environment will only be friendly, that nobody will die around us, that everybody will love us, that we feel totally safe because of the circumstances around ourselves. This is not real. Especially our social environment, how humans are treating humans with judgment, with the cruelty of rejection. With elaborating fear and fears is something we cannot change overnight. But what we can do is that we can change our own attitude towards it. What we cannot change is that we get hurt now and then in life. So inner growth doesn't bring you the safety of never getting hurt again. We will lose some loved ones. We will get rejected. Our physical health at a certain moment will deteriorate. We hope that it will be just the last minutes of our lives. But things happen. And the art of living is the art how to deal with those things. How to deal with difficulties. So we can take the difficulties as absolute. And when we take them as absolute, they're defining us and they're defining our lives. But then, if we are sure that difficulties will happen, and we can take them more relaxed, more light-hearted, as something, there's no choice, but we have to deal with this. It's amazing to see what a human is able to contain. To move through. To integrate. Without having to lose his human heart. So right now, if we look to the human race generally, the tendency is very strong to kind of move into a very stressed position inside ourselves. And the stressed position we call survival. We have to survive. And part of this survival is the idea that we have to be somebody else as what we feel from the depth inside of what we are. So we have to pretend to be different. And I just want to say a few words about it, not go to the depth of it, but to pretend to be different is to adjust to what we think the environment is expecting of us. And we do this a lot because, otherwise we'll maybe be rejected. Or a conflict will come forward. But with a very strong belief that as we are, we're not good enough. And this is really a catch-22. Because how could you relax inside yourself? How could you be yourself? How could you relax in being? How could you relax in togetherness? How could you relax in interbeing? How could you feel safe if there is this belief that we are not good enough? So this belief of not being good enough has a side effect. And one of the side effects is that we feel separated. We feel separated from each other. We feel separated from our family. We feel separated from our parents. Sometimes even from our children. Not good enough as a mother, not good enough as a father. And this feeling of separation is bringing forward a deep feeling of loneliness. And loneliness is one of the difficult feelings in life. So loneliness again is an incredible drive to try to connect, to adjust, to do your best. Because if you don't do your best, you're lonely. And that is not a very pleasant feeling. And again, loneliness is something different from being alone. Sometimes we really benefit by being alone. And this being alone gives us sometimes the opportunity, the chance, to really deeply relax inside our own being. So sometimes this is much more easy when we are alone. So the emphasis these days is very much in trying to relax into being. Being in another country, in another culture, where you're not just used to being, or in a different places where you live, helps. Because, in our daily life, in the country where we live, where we are surrounded by our friends and family, we have these contracts. We have contracts with everybody around us. And according to these contracts, we have a place, a role to play. And often when we look to this role, this is survival. We have to be somebody, react in a certain way. According to this contract. And of course, when we move through a process of inner growth, often what's happening is that we start to relate in a different way towards ourselves, and we start to relate differently to our environment. And especially when we conquer the inner dragon, this fear of rejection. And find back the deeper care which is behind it. Because, when we are moving according to this fear of rejection, all we can think about is ourselves. Even if we sacrifice ourselves for others not to be rejected, it's for ourselves. So kind of conquer this dragon and moving more deeply into the natural care which is there, the deeper care. A deeper care towards ourselves and a deeper care towards others. Is quite a liberation. And brings us back into what always has been there in moments in our lives. In the good moments, in the moments when we felt more fully alive, here, into being, just being, without kind of planning and plotting of what you have to be or how you have to be, or just simple being. Basically having a holiday from yourself. So, we all know when we have these moments in our lives that we move into being. That our whole system starts to relax. Our body starts to relax. Our mind starts to relax. Sometimes it's happening when you kind of are there, that the mind is silent for a period. No thoughts. Basically, and this is important to check if I'm not lying, basically, we don't feel that we are different. We're still the same. Nothing changed. But when you analyze it and look at it, big differences are coming forward. It's like the mind is following the experience. We're experiencing, so the mind is following the experience, not dictating it, how it should be, what it should be. So there's this whole movement in which the emphasis is much more on the heart, much more on the feeling connection we have. And this is also when we are on a holiday. Here in Glastonbury, we don't only want to understand and see what's happening around ourselves, but we want to experience it. We want to feel the atmosphere.